Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Cowboys Takeover. Man, was this just, I want to say, abysmal week. It was terrible. I think it's Mr. Aaron James and myself have talked about this run defense and what it may look like. And I think this week was the perfect opportunity to really discuss it and talk about it, because that Arizona Cardinals team just dominated us. So I'm going to bring in Mr. Aaron James. Mr. Aaron James, how are you today, sir? How do you feel after that just terrible week?
It was a heartbreaker. I mean, honestly, it was an upset. At the end of the day, we were favored by 12 points to win that game. So it's not like we had a 1 or 2 point, 3 point favor going into a game. So it's just a true upset. And when we have all the confidence in the world going into this game, that we could potentially, there's some hype build up to it, but that's part of the game. We could potentially fight for that number 1 seed, the division. Having coming down with an unexpected L like this, maybe next week, or we talk about, because we did our record forecast pre-setting. Maybe we talk about turning a future L that we had to a W. We're going to have to find a way to do it. I think we're going to have to find a way to do it.
I just think, and it just seemed like, starting this week out, we really dominated the first 2 games defensively. And then midweek we lose Diggs. And you're like, man, that could be tough. And then, not to make excuses, I know, but they did end up calling Biotish and Martin. They were both inactive, and Tyron Smith was out. So there's a lot of that stuff. But we'll get into that later. But it's really tough, because when I think the biggest takeaway that I had, and I think a lot of people when they looked, was that defense, right?
Yes.
I think when you're watching that game, it started out a lot like that Giants game did, right? They drive the ball down really quick. Dobbs has a nice keep where he's about to get sacked and took it, I think, 50-plus yards.
First play
I think it's just this play right here where Mike almost had him, and he just takes off. And I think that was the fear, was he can move a little bit. And it's not like he has any – I don't want to say he has anything to lose, but he knows this isn't his job. So go out there and try the ball. And they put him in a perfect position to win. The biggest thing was that rush defense. Something we thought after the first 2 games, when you played the New York Giants and you played the Jets, both have, uber talented running backs, dynamic running backs that I really thought would gash us. And when they held both of those teams down, I think I got a little overexcited about how good this run defense was. And I think a big thing to do with it was they played it. The game plan for Arizona played perfect, because they went out there first drive and drove right down the field, got a lead, and they were playing from ahead the whole time. So it didn't give that Dallas defense that opportunity to just, like they have the last 2 games, and pin their ears back and just go get the quarterback. James Conner was thrashing, this defense. And it's something to look forward to now, where I really thought we had it covered up. When you look at the teams that are we thought were right there with us, both have better offensive lines and better running backs and overall teams than this Arizona Cardinals team. So I think the struggles right now are real, and I think it's time, it's time to worry a little bit, I think. And I know it's early, but this is has scared me, especially after last year. You can't get gashed by a team that's trying to lose the season to get the quarterback number 1 pick. You can't let this happen at all. And that defense didn't step up for, all the injuries we had. They didn't step up like they should have.
So a couple of things. Well, one, you saw Micah Parsons was the one that lost containment on that second play of the game. That is just not playing smart. I mean, when you come out in the very first drive, it's all about what you studied. It's all about, what is my job? QB contain. I mean, that was just inexcusable, especially from Micah. So that was disappointing. They had 100, if I'm not mistaken, 180 or so rushing yards by halftime. Finished the game with over 200, I think close to 215 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Throughout the game, I'm like, where is Van Der Esch? Where is he? What is he doing? I mean, this was a big gap. Curse took a bad angle. Yeah, Curse took a bad angle, and this guy Moore is just a super speedster. So what I'm a little bit fearful of is that the future opponents, especially the Patriots and especially Bill Belichick, he's going to look at this game, and he's going to try to do the same thing. They ran some unique running plays with pulling the guard and the center at the same time, and some power motion plays, and I think that just caught our guys off guard. Look, they had these big gaps to get through. So, Parsons disappointing, and there was even a play, maybe even two, where Parsons was asking for the play call. There was just confusion by the defense, so that's inexcusable. No takeaways. I can't remember the last time we had a game where we had 0 takeaways. We lost the takeover battle. If we have one meaningful takeaway that puts us in great field position, that could change the momentum of the game. And that just didn't happen here. Well, so
it's tough. You let Josh Dobbs throw complete 17 of 21 passes. Like this, I just don't know with a defense that we really thought could be. You can't, if you want to be the number one defense in the league, you can't allow this performance at all. It's so disappointing. And there were a few things. I think there were, and I don't want to get super, complaining, but there was a play where they held Micah in the end zone. There should have been a safety. Micah is getting ready to sack Dobbs. Micah had that edge. They held him. There was couple other plays where some pass interference I felt didn't. So I think everything that could go wrong against, for Dallas did. It really felt like that. Because I'm sitting there, and it was early in the game. It was a closer game when they got him back on the 1 yard line, and Micah hit that edge. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, that's 100% a hold. That's a safety. It should be Dallas's ball. So things like that, while I get people are going to say you're complaining, that is such a huge momentum shift that didn't happen. So there was some things that maybe Dallas has been getting that their defense just didn't get today. And it may just be, it could have been, I know you said it, maybe you're off a little with the Diggs injury. Maybe they felt a little too much pressure to step up because of the offensive injuries. But it just spiraled in that defense. They just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing our defense give up that many big plays, and we didn't expect it. I mean, you had us winning by 35. I had us winning by 34. I got the popcorn ready, and for the first time I went into this game thinking like, you know what, I'm just going to stuff my face with popcorn because this is just going to be a great showing. And come halftime, I still have the confidence because Arizona's been squandering their leads in the second half from back-to-back games. Giants were able to come back in a big way against them. So I'm like, okay, they're pumping each other up in the locker room, but at the end of the day, we just kind of let their offense do, what they had game planned to do. We really weren't that disruptive.
This guy needs to get out. Not tonight, bud. Not tonight. I love you, Chris. It's a tough one. 2 weeks, we'll give it back. Don't worry. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah. And I think what's concerning is that what Arizona was able to do, Philadelphia and the 49ers can replicate it.
That's my biggest concern. And I said this, to Chris earlier. I'm really worried about this Cowboys defense now because, San Fran's got some backs. Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, is probably the best back in the league. And then their backup Elijah Mitchell, he's really good. And the Eagles, they may not have a bunch of big names. DeAndre Swift proved he could do it. The other kid, Gainwell, proved he could do it. And they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. So I think the one thing we've really stated about this team and our biggest concerns, well, as great as it was week 1 and week 2, week 3 is, and the Cardinals are a worse team. People projected them, they could be, not win a game. And for them to just Josh Dobbs, it looked like everybody he threw the ball to was wide open. It felt like almost every time he hit, there was not people close. Like he felt like he was just hitting people. And it was, I don't understand if that good a defense, that many athletes, how are guys getting open all over the field on them? It just didn't, something was off. And it could be the Diggs injury. You may have been onto something that maybe he had more to do, but Josh Dobbs should not be 17 of 21 against this Cowboys defense. Like, come on. That's so disappointing.
Yeah. And, this is the pride of our team. So we're going to need to see them rebound in a big way against the Patriots. I think that I have confidence that they will, because the leaders we have back there, they're just not going to allow for this to happen again. But so we need to, buckle up and make a statement.
Oh, I agree. I do think with guys like Gilmore in that locker room, even though it's his first year, he's been around the league a long time. He's a defensive player of the year. He knows what it takes to have a defense, play great defense. And he's been on some top defenses. Guy like Micah, even though he's only in his third year, 2-time, he's second defensive player of the year twice now. They have some guys that I think they're going to have a meeting, that defense. They can't let this happen again. Not if you want to be a number one defense, not if you want to beat teams like, San Fran and the Eagles and be taken legitimately as Super Bowl contenders. You can't be giving up 7 yards a carry to a team like Arizona. That's quite unacceptable for anybody.
So what percentage of the blame goes to the players and what percentage goes to DQ on the defensive play?
See, I can't put as much blame on I put more on DQ because I don't think they have the talent or the players, because they have the talent, but to stop the run, you need the thumpers. So you, as a Dan Quinn being the defensive coordinator, being around more defenses like this, he has to put that defense in a better, better spot to stop the run, because it just felt like they were getting gashed every time Arizona carried the ball. It felt like 4 or 5 yards, and James Conner was plowing through dudes. It was crazy. He looked like Jerome Bettis. Like, come on. Like, so DQ's got to, I know, but he's got to put him in a better position to make those tackles faster. Because I felt like they were getting that second level every time. So that was the issue.
So you're saying 60% DQ on DQ, or would you say less than that?
I would say about 60%.
Okay.
You got to have your team ready. You can't.
Yeah.
I feel like they were feeling themselves. It may have been a little bit of two. They came in and shut down, and I get it was the Jets and the Giants, but they might have been, all the talk was how great this Dallas defense was. And they got punched in the mouth and didn't have an answer for it. So I think too, part of it, while I do blame DQ, he's got to let them know you're not that yet. You haven't proven anything yet. So he has to have them in better position, better mental to have them playing that game and not get punched in the mouth like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the simple fact that if it's 60% DQ, I think it might even be, I'd go as high as 65%. That just means to me that with that, coaching can fix a lot of what took place. Busted coverage, gap coverage. So that gives us a little bit more confidence of us rebounding in a good way. But let's talk a little bit about the offensive struggles. I'll kick us off here. We weren't concerned about it in prior weeks. And my fault. I was wrong. I said that red zone efficiency, that we would deliver when we needed to. And that the numbers were skewed because the play calling, We were just comfortable where we were in the lead, but I think it potentially may have shown exactly where our team is. 1-5, 20% in the red zone in this game. To me,
good.
yeah, it's I don't know if it has to do with Zeke not being present, play calling. It's hard to put a it's hard to narrow down for me as to why we're having the red zone problems.
Did you see that stat? I think in the last 5 years, they went from a team that passes the ball 60% of the time. And I think it's up to like now they're rushing, I think 54, 55. Like it's skewed a lot from being a happy to like they run more than they throw this year. And I wonder if, what's the like I get they want to do that, but you're telling me you want to run, you have this quarterback who's supposed to be your guy, and you have your number one running backs just coming off of a pretty big injury, and you got rid of Zeke, and we're going to run the ball more now. I'm wondering if they really believe in Dak as much as they say they do. Because if you have Patrick Mahomes, I get he's great. Allen, you look at Jalen Hurts. Look at a guy that I think a lot of Cowboys fans would say they don't think he's that good. I think he's a good quarterback, but even the Eagles give him every opportunity to win games. They're running too much for my liking, and I'm really worried about Dak. I think yesterday showed his what I've been very worried about in those tight games. He that interception he threw wasn't a pretty one. There was a couple of plays. I think the one on fourth down or when they won in the end zone too, where he threw it, it wasn't a good pass. That was incomplete. He just, when it feels like when the game needs to be won, he just can't go and grab it. And it's something that's been bothering me for the last few years with him. Because if you can't go grab it against Arizona, I know you ain't doing it against San Fran, and I know you ain't doing it against Philly and Kansas City, those teams that punch you. So it bothers me a little bit. I know we're 2-1, but I'm feeling super negative today about this loss. There's just so much. It's Arizona. Dak should be able to, come on. I think what was his? I think he threw 25 of 40. That's you got to throw a little bit better than that. You took 2 sacks, you threw an interception. You're only completing 6.2 yards a pass. It was nice to see Gallup get involved. We shouldn't. Come on. Dobbs went 17-21, and Dak's over here missing all this. Like Dak bothered me a lot yesterday, too, because he needs to take that defense and he just needs to come on. He's a better quarterback.
Yeah, he is a better quarterback, and Dak, he has plenty of fourth quarter comebacks. It's just that we're used to seeing it from September through November. It's very rare that he falls short like he did yesterday in September. He's typically pretty productive and does really well. The knock on him is that in important games he can't find a way to win. So from a general characteristic point of view, this is not what he typically does in the month of September against a team like the Arizona Cardinals. So for me, I just didn't see any groove, any good tempo in that first half of the game. As far as the offensive struggle is concerned, the protection really wasn't good. The pocket was collapsing on him, right? I don't know why we didn't put Tyler Smith at tackle for Tyron, and so that was a little bit of a head scratcher for me. On the offensive side, one thing that I did predict, that there would be a big focus on Michael Gallup. He was up there, I think, number 1 in targets. Dak floated a ball on a go route. It was like a 20-yarder for a touchdown because Gallup had been hitting slant routes, and then he finally fakes the slant, goes deep, and Dak floated it and allowed the defender to catch up to disrupt the pass. So if he throws that more on the line, it's an easy score because the cornerback was beat. Pollard's numbers came out pretty good, actually.
He was about to only shining part of that. Him and Gallup of that offense.
Yo, Dowdle, I told you in the preseason, man,
He
that
had
guy
some
is
good runs.
nifty.
He put his head down a few times too.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to see. So a question for you then. You did bring up the defense and whose portion you thought the blame would be. When you look at Dak and I kind of, I felt the blame. I was just upset with his performance. And I get there's injuries. Um, how much of the blame do you put on McCarthy for really not putting him in better position, knowing you're down really, I get it was 2 out, but you're really down 3 offensive linemen. How much of that is McCarthy's fault for putting it on, for Dak to have so much? It should be like quicker routes, get the ball out. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it could have been, but it really felt like he wasn't put in the best position to get the ball out quick, knowing what was going on with that offensive line.
Yeah, and so for me, I would say about 65% of the blame goes on McCarthy, just simply because the play calling. I just feel like he had this mentality going into the game that, hey, we're going to be able to do what we want. So, it just looked like we were unprepared, really, on both sides. So, it falls on him. As a play caller, you have to help your quarterback get in a rhythm. It seems like the Cardinals kind of knew and expected the play action, and they played that, got a couple sacks out of it throughout the game. So I'm at 65% for McCarthy. What do you think? Is that too high?
I don't think so, because I do think a case can be made. And I know with the West Coast offense, I feel like there is some of that. And so I've always questioned Dak's decision making in big moments. When you look at the last 2 playoff games, San Fran, I think a lot of Dallas fan, and he just doesn't feel like he wins the big games. He just isn't there yet. And I think I'm disappointed because I wanted to see him come out this season. And like you said, September, October, November, he's been a very good quarterback. He got a lot of wins. And I don't care, what they say about you as a quarterback. When you're winning as a quarterback, you're doing something right. So when I wanted to see him take that next step, I thought this season he needs to be the reason they win the Super Bowl if they're going to win. And you can't look like that against a team like Arizona, no matter what. So even if he says we got to run the ball more, like don't put it all on Dak, because Pollard was having himself a day. Mm-hmm. They fed him, and it was great to see him finally get his opportunity. And this is his best game of the season. It's a sad to see it because we're missing so much, the struggles of that team. And then it goes to show, I think maybe signing Tyron Smith may not have been the move. Maybe they should have went out and got somebody, while maybe not as good, somebody that's going to play, because these injuries are really starting to pile up on this offensive line. And you can't lose, Zach Martin being out in your center. It's going to be a long season if these O linemen can't stay healthy too.
I agree. So we've already mentioned and talked about the coaching. I want to bring up a situational call during the game, and I'm not sure. And now I like the aggressiveness, but it probably wasn't the smartest. So let me share here what I'm talking about. So 3rd and 3, 3:49 left in the third quarter. It's still a 1 possession game, but we're having some difficulties getting it in. All right. So 3rd and 3, flag comes out. Now 4th and 4. And this is basically the question. Should we have kicked the field goal?
Yes.
Or gone for it?
You kick the field goal. Because to me, Arizona's already at this point, Arizona was chasing points. Yes. I believe they had already went for it and missed a couple of 2-point conversions. So I don't want to chase points here because it's a different game. If you get those points, you never know what it looks like come later in the game. If you go in the half what are you down? I think it's 21. You're down 21-13. Maybe now it's a little bit different game. Now you're not having to press as much in the second half. And with the way the second half went, Arizona they didn't score as much in the second half. Like you said, the rushing yards, 188 in the first. They really didn't have that many after half. So that defense did play better in the second half. I never chased points in the first half. It bothers me so bad. I hated it last year, and I understood last year against San Fran when they did it because I believe Maher was in that, the fun kicking. No, it's too early in the game to go chasing points. I 100% think this was an error. I did not like this play call at all.
I'm with you. So in real time, I'm thinking to myself, okay, they have something cooked up like a trick play for this game, and it's not a trick play at all. I mean, it's just I don't know if I'd say a terrible play call, but for a fourth down. So you just, and then they get this, Arizona gets this, this big play, and then this 3rd and 9. I mean, we end up getting the ball back, but if we get the ball, if we do the same thing, it's 16-21, we have the momentum.
I just didn't like it. I've always, and you always hear the announcers say, especially when they're older, the old time football coaches, don't chase points. You never go for 2 early in the game. Always wait till you have to. So at that point, you just get, because I felt like at that point, Arizona was really outplaying us. So if you can go down with how bad you looked in that first half, if you can go down, go into halftime at 21-13, knowing you scored, knowing you didn't allow them to score after that, now you have the momentum, but now when you're going for it and you don't get it, you're deflated. You haven't been in this position. You needed to come back. It's a 2-score game instead of a 1-score game. That's why, you're down 1 score. Mm-hmm. Now we stay down 2 scores. So it's a much different mentality going in the half. And you don't chase it that early.
No. So I'm keeping track because McCarthy is on the hot seat. I'm keeping track of these situational plays that come up in the games. And that one, he's 0 for 1. He's 0 for 1 in these play calls. And everyone also knows that if you're going to go for it on 4th down, you run the ball on 3rd down.
I would have liked to have seen that. But they? I think they had that flag. I think they had to pass because they had that penalty, that holding penalty, the down right before, I thought. Wasn't it?
That is true. But the flag was, during the play. Again, if you're the play caller, you say,
you're right.
Hey, we're gonna. This is a 2-play,
and
mindset. Yeah. So,
did you put any blame on Dak for not? Maybe because to me, if I'm the quarterback, you're there 9 years. However, I don't know how long he's been there now. Feels like it. Shouldn't it be his if he knows that something's not right, or if he shouldn't he put his at least the offensive guys once he gets out there audible to a different play? Because when you look at it, everybody was covered. Like there's nobody open to throw to. It was really upsetting.
That's a really good point because all of the confidence we have coming in first 2 games, Dak's audibling, he's looking at the defense, and we're seeing that IQ start to show. Really didn't see any of that this game. He could, like you're right, he could have audibled, or he could have just allowed for a delay of game so that we take the easy field goal.
Especially when and the bigger problem too is, like we said, the offensive line injuries. You're getting so much pushback. Well, yes, I blame Dak because he's a seasoned quarterback and he should be okay with maneuvering around that. When you saw in that play, there's guys, offensive linemen, like 4 or 5 yards in the backfield. Like they were getting bullied. So you got to know, in a game where maybe you have all of your offensive linemen and you're really dominating and getting that push, and Dak's got a good pocket to work in. So understanding your guys in that situation, maybe let's fight another day and not take this risk here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's a little bit on Dak and a little bit on McCarthy on that play.
So McCarthy said on his press conference that he didn't really give a lot of reps to the guys that ended up starting on Sunday during the week. So, and when you see Tyrone Smith was in uniform on the sideline, that kind of leads me to believe it was it was a game time decision.
Yeah.
If he was in uniform, ready to go, Zach Martin was not in uniform. So, to me, it's kind of like coaches took this game too lightly. They did not take it serious. They thought, hey, we can just throw these guys in last minute. They didn't have that many reps. Oh well, we're going to keep Arizona under 10 points anyways. Well, let's take care of the ball. Let's run the ball. And it just kind of all came down on them. So to me, coaching, we from a percentage standpoint is to blame for a lot that took place, and it's really disappointing.
Isn't I feel like there's a problem that that you have that comment, that type of answer this early in the season, when you kind of feel like, I thought they got rid of Kellen Moore because it was McCarthy's last year, and you're already in a situation where you got two guys inactive, and we don't play the replacements in practice. Like, come on. It's not a good look when you're on the hot seat. And Jerry, it may be a quick decision this year. It may, it's possible, man. If things go bad, dude, I don't, this dude, to me, he has to have a spectacular season to stay on regardless. So, you get another loss in here. If you lose to the Patriots 2-2, you could see it. I really think you could.
Now, based on, I know we don't want to hit the panic button, but based on what we saw in this game, are we considering, because we do have draft capital, do we want to go out and make a trade to solidify a corner?
No, I want a defensive. I need a defensive tackle. I thought the whole time I really hope the Rams just lose and let's go get Donald. But they need to look at teams, that have, that are a linebacker. You need a thumper in the middle of that defense. I said before, I think, to me, if I could take anybody, you get anybody in the NFL, it's the kid from San Fran. I don't know why his name's going out of my head.
Fred Warner?
Fred Warner, yeah, because to me that he fits this defense. He's thumping. Leighton Vander Esch isn't that bopper. Like, I get it, he's a good player, but he's not a guy that's putting fear in you. We need, they need to go out, and I don't know how many middle linebackers they're, outside of Wagner, and Seattle may be good. I don't know how many players you can really go trade for. So to me, I guess Donald would have to be the guy, but yeah, they need something, either a stout defensive tackle or a middle linebacker that's just going to wreak havoc.
Yeah. And we're going to need, we need like a rental, a veteran rental that could come in for the year and finish off strong, kind of like what we did with Hankins. Because we're not going to be able to get a 3-year or 4-year kind of veteran that's going to be expecting a contract and give up, capital for that type of player, because hey, we got paychecks to write.
Yeah.
Now, DQ was quoted saying at the press conference that his standout players were Bland, Hooker, and I forget who else. But Bland
standout players.
Bland, he didn't make really any mistakes.
Wasn't there? I thought there was a PI or something on him early in the game. Wasn't there a hold or PI like real quick?
Yeah,
because I remember them saying he was. I remember that play specifically, and they mentioned, he's starting for Diggs. I remember there was something big that happened where he got. But come on, there was a play. I remember. I forget which one it was. Who'd they throw to? There's wide open 50 yards down the field, and I'm sitting there watching. I forget who it was. The safety just pointed at the corner. Like, this defense doesn't deserve any players in this game. Maybe Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence, because you got sacks, but outside of that it was not. I can't give out player of the games to defensive players when you got rushed, 7 yards of carry run on you. It's tough.
Yeah. So you brought it up, and I should have had it circled bigger on my notes here, but 13 penalties for 107 yards. We lost, I don't know, 50, 60 yards on a Cavante Turpin punt return.
Yeah.
What? It's like, here we go. Same script all over again. 13 penalties.
It comes down to McCarthy. And the first 2 weeks we've been they were good. They were doing really well with it. A lot of the things that, and it feels like that we said last year, a lot of the mistakes are mental mistakes and the coaching needs to have it. And when you lose a game like this, the way they did, a lot of it's on McCarthy for not having this team better prepared and looking at this team, looking at this Arizona Cardinals team, which I did joke that it could happen. I didn't think it would. I didn't think it would happen like that. I thought that defense was a little bit more stout. But yeah, so it's on McCarthy for not having these guys prepared and probably looking past. I think you're right. I think the whole organization, from head coach to all the players, they look past this Arizona Cardinals team, and any given Sunday, anything can happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got to see the penalties, the extended plays, it's some offensive holding calls that, put us in bad situations. So if that gets cleaned up, we could be looking at a different game in itself. But let's try to be as positive as possible. I'm going to start with my first positive comment. The first positive comment is that it's week 3. It's September. It's not December. We didn't have, imagine if this happens in December. Man, we're losing it.
Okay, I'll give you that. So my positive comment was Pollard looked like a dude that could run. It looked like when you give him the opportunity, he averaged 5 yards carry yesterday. He didn't look that great his first 2 games. And maybe it was Arizona just allowing him to, but Pollard looked really good yesterday. I was happy with the way Pollard played. There's positive.
All right, I got another one. Another positive is we rested some key players.
That's not good. Not yes, that way anyway. Not that way.
You gotta think of it. Hey, if it's gonna be ugly, I mean, imagine if we put these guys out here, they're playing at 75% and we lose. Come on now.
Power rankings. Dallas probably is 10. I would say. San Fran's probably number 1. Dallas drops a lot.
No.
My positive, Micah's on pace for 18, 19 sacks and probably will be on pace for more. He's getting there. Should have had another one, got held, but Micah's on pace he's on pace for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to go with that.
All right. I got another positive. The big plays. We tamed the big plays. You take those back.
Okay.
Some busted coverage.
I'll give you that.
We weren't, as it wasn't as dominating, right, of a victory.
It hurt a little bit
for the Cardinals. I mean, it's an easy fix. That's what I'm saying.
Easy fix.
Okay, easier fix. If you just control the big plays, because our defense, we take the ball away. Right, we control that line of scrimmage. So the more snaps a team's going to have, the more just build up that our defense can do something. The more opportunities they can do something.
I hope you got another, because I didn't see many positives out of that game yesterday. I was very
well. My last,
I think I like Gallup. I thought Gallup. It was nice to see. I'll go there. It was nice to see Gallup finally get involved, build that confidence up. And now that you have somebody else outside of CD.
Mm-hmm. I think also Rico Dowdle solidified that we have a strong, capable RB2 that can catch the ball, that can run the ball, complements Pollard from a receiving running back, it's not as big of a drop off, in my opinion, as what we had with Zeke.
Okay. So, Mr. DeGarmo, you said you saw positives right here. I see it. I saw positives. What is your positive if you're still here? I would like to hear this one. It's probably not going to be good because he's a San Fran fan.
He's probably going to say he's positive that San Fran's going to win the number 1 seed.
They might. It's tough. It's upsetting with this type of game because I had high expectations, and a lot of them came crashing down against Arizona because if you can't stop Arizona, you're not stopping. That Purdy is better than Dak. No, he is not. Okay. But if you're not going to stop the big teams, and that worries me. That's why right now I really want to play San Fran because I want to see where we're at.
Yeah.
Exactly. If we get blown out, it's over. Like, to me, I know now. Now my expectations against San Fran aren't as high as what they were, and we'll see. So that's it's tough. It's tough when you lose a game like this because they are not. It's upsetting, and I'm still I'm really, as you can all tell, I'm very bitter about this loss. I did not see it coming. I do not like that it happened. I don't want to put a positive spin on it. He is really trashing. This Dak is not as good as Purdy. There's some coffins and some tombstones. That's not going to happen. We'll do good, right? I think we're doing good. We're focused on New England, and we're not even focused on San Fran yet. We're going to handle business. On to the next. Let's give the Bill Belichick on to the next. We need Dak to come out this week.
Here's what I want to see with Purdy. Dak, I went and looked at it. Dak started 13-3 in his first 16 starts. So Purdy, I think, is what, 8-0?
He's undefeated. He's got a shot.
So, let's see how he gets through that first 16 games. Is he going to go 16-0?
They have a good shot. They have a really easy schedule.
I don't know.
But Dak.
Yeah. I mean, the Seahawks. They still have to play the Seahawks twice, and they're playing Cowboys and Eagles. I think those are probably the toughest games that they're going to have. But it's a long season.
So,
and then my comment I wanted to say on the power rankings, because it was such an upset.
You don't think we drop that much?
I don't think we drop.
I think it's 10.
Below 5.
I'm 100% disagreeing with that one. They're at least 10. No. I almost dropped them out of my top. They almost went out of my 10.
No.
So, final takeaways, Mr. Aaron James. What's your final takeaway from this week?
Final takeaway. I mean, really, it's just that game sucked. Let's toss it in the trash. It just completely, I wanted to do the post game like right after because I'm like, I don't want to even talk about this anymore. I don't want to talk about it tomorrow. I don't want to talk about it Tuesday or Wednesday. Let's just go handle business. We're gonna break down the Patriots game. They've been struggling on offense, so hey, we're probably going to be dominant anyway because they just don't have a whole lot going for them. But Belichick will look at this game. He will drum up something and challenge us on the offensive side. But let's handle our business and let's get ready for San Fran.
I don't know if I could have said it any more eloquently. I agree, and it's like we gotta get through New England first. So let's not worry about San Fran just yet. But I think he's gonna make Dak throw. I think Dak. We need to scratch this one up as maybe some injuries. I don't think Dak looks that bad if you're not missing Biotish and Martin. I do think it's a different game, but it does worry me going forward. The biggest takeaway, for this week was that run defense is. We're not up big this run. That team that defense may not look as good. It's easy to look good when you're playing ahead and able to run the quarterback. This guy, but if they don't fix that run defense, they're gonna be in for a long season. I think that's my biggest takeaway. You can't let Arizona team choke and do that to you. So I'd like to agree with you. I'm going to scratch this one up as we did have some injuries. Offense wasn't clicking on all cylinders. Let's see what happens this upcoming week in New England. But you can't have a stinker this week, Mister. You can't.
You can't have a stinker. But how was it that we were able to stop Saquon and Bryce Hall?
I don't get it. And Dalvin Cook.
That's why it just doesn't make sense.
It just doesn't. And I think a lot of it was because we got up big, and they stopped running. Arizona just kept throwing everybody at us. Last question, Mr. DeGarmo, because we're wrapping this up. What do we have here? And this is I'm really upset that I'm even letting him do this because it's going to be something. Catch up or nothing. So for Jason Kent, for Mr. Aaron James, this is Cowboys Takeover Podcast. You can see us. You can go follow us on all of our social medias. The Cowboys Takeover Podcast on all your social media platforms. That's tough to say. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go give us a like, give us a follow, drop some questions, and our YouTube page. Go give us a follow, give us a like there. We're streaming there and Facebook every Sunday and every Thursday, most games. And we'll be back this Thursday, discussing matchup rebound Arizona Cardinals. Mr. Aaron James, I'm Jason Kent. You guys enjoy your week. Let's go Cowboys.